Welcome back to 3D Sportscast. I almost said D3 because you did last time. 3D Sportscast.
It's 3D, not
yes.
D3, not Division 3.
Not like last time, this guy. Going over Week 8, episode something or other. Probably 6, 5, 4,
This
2,
is
17.
5, or 6. 6, I believe.
Episode 6,
Yeah.
Week 8 overview. Start off with the Thursday night game. We're going to go over last week first.
My
Your
Bills, first game, not the prettiest game, but we did look better. I know last week I talked about...
Didn't take much to look better than
Yeah,
last week.
true. And I talked about the last couple weeks before we were slow to start offensively, and we finally started picking up at the end of the game. But I wanted to start the game with more offensive motivation, I guess, and just let's go out and let's start scoring. We did that, but then it's kind of the opposite. We did that, we dominated, and then we kind of let Tampa Bay hang around longer than we should.
Yeah, because if
we didn't put the game
you just
away.
watched the first half of the game, you'd thought the Bills you guys blew
And
out the Bucs.
it was
not
a good.
The final score was not a blowout.
It was a good win. My biggest issue is we let them hang around for too long and actually gave them a shot at winning. So it's a win, but we still got some things. We could be better, and we got to just put teams away when we're up. We cannot do that. But anyway,
definitely looked a lot better than last week.
We did.
Though.
Offensively, I think I even said that we need to go more no huddle, quicker pace, and just go. We did that
looked
a lot
better this week. Last week you looked slow. Out of the gate you were slow.
Yeah.
You definitely came ready to fight right out of the gate this game. You scored a lot of your points early. But like you said, they didn't really...
We didn't put them away.
You let them hang around. They almost came back. Obviously they didn't. But...
Yeah,
definitely looked better than last week.
Definitely things we could definitely be better, but it's a step in the right direction compared to how we've been playing the last couple weeks. So, and it's a win. I'm happy. There's still improvement to be made.
Yeah. And on the Bucs side of things, this game didn't really look too bad for them. Definitely looked pretty bad the first part of the game.
Well, part of the reason is we controlled the field position very well. Even the drives that we stalled out and couldn't score or we punted, we flipped the field. They were backed up most of the game, and that was another way we controlled the game. So that helped us out as well.
Yeah, they barely even had 300 yards of offense, which is for a team like the Bucs, where I feel like not that they've been super offensively good, but I feel like they haven't had trouble getting yards this year.
And another thing is with that no huddle that we did, I'd like to see us stick with that more. But we got some interesting play calls coming out. LeBron James, Bobby Wagner.
Like they're the names.
Well, one was J.R. Smith, and there was people coming out saying, "Oh, Taylor." That was not even what he said.
Everybody's got Taylor Swift on the mind. Well, because it was Cavs players.
Yeah, it was LeBron James, J.R. Smith, and there was a couple other ones, but. Either way, we were calling some interesting plays, but we were getting out there, moving fast with some efficiency and some urgency on the offense.
It definitely looked a lot better for the Bills. I definitely think they need to keep this trend going. Get the ball moving, get it moving quick, and get on the scoreboard.
And one other thing I'll say real quick, too, is that was good offensively, is we didn't rely, even though Stephon Diggs still was a factor and made catches, we didn't go to him like everybody.
We spread the ball
around. Yeah. Gabe Davis had a good game and a touchdown. Dalton Kincaid, our rookie tight end, got his first touchdown. So the ball was spread around. Shakir had almost 100 yards catching. So, it was not just Diggs offensively. We actually spread the ball around. And that's what we're going to also have to do, I think, to be effective offensively moving forward.
Definitely.
Is not just rely on one guy and spread the love around. And we did a good job of that, I think, in this game as well. So positives for us moving forward. And close win, maybe too close, but a win's a win, and so good for us. And
I believe we both picked.
We both picked the Bills, so we got that one right. And real quick before we move on, speaking of our picks, I noticed every single week that all 32 teams have played, there's been 16 games. I've been 11-5. Every week that there's not bye weeks, like all the teams play, I've been 11-5 in my predictions.
You've been terrible,
yeah, but I've been 11-5 every week that everyone plays. So that's just a interesting thing.
I did good.
9-7.
You went 9-7.
I think that's what I was the first week, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that I was 11-5. I think you said that. But anyways, Commanders, the next game.
Yeah, next game. I think we both picked the Eagles to win.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was, again, Commanders played
I don't
a
know
good
why
game.
we can play the Eagles so well.
You always
but
play the
no
Eagles
one
good.
else.
Yeah.
I'll go over my team quick just because I know quite a bit about how they did. Sam Howell looked phenomenal.
He did.
He looked way better. He had a pretty bad pick. It was definitely bad. You could tell he was a rookie. It was under pressure. It would have, that drive could have made the difference between us winning the game,
Yeah.
which it hurt. It hurt, but it's good learning for him. But Sam Howell this year has looked phenomenal.
He has, and for a first-year starter,
Oh my gosh, he's been so good.
there's a lot to build moving forward for Washington.
It's definitely nice, especially with some of the trades we've made. We're gonna have a
Gonna
lot
say today, as we're recording this, was the trade deadline, so that's a lot of other things happening. Washington trading two of their biggest defensive players, two defensive linemen.
Two of what I would say are probably Chase Young at his best and Montez Sweat at his best are probably two top 5 defensive ends.
Yeah,
in the league.
very good defensive ends.
And we both traded them.
Now,
they were both on expiring contracts.
And talking about it, it makes sense now to do both of them. Montez Sweat to the Bears makes more sense because you get more out of that trade, I think. The 49ers, not only is their pick not as good, but then just to give them Chase Young, that you're just adding on to that already talented defensive team of the 49ers. So, personally, I don't know about that one much.
You're going to have Bosa on one end and Young on the other
back
end.
Like they were in college. They're reunited. They both played at Ohio State together.
That's going to be like one crazy good D-line.
Yeah. But speaking of, we'll get to them later, but 49ers making a change, but they've now lost 3 straight. We'll get to that in a bit. But
yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, it
they're
is.
really good.
But either way, back to this game. The Eagles, now the best record in the league,
Yeah.
only team that's one loss. I think every other team's got
Although
at
there
least 2
for a
losses
while,
now.
it did look like they were going to lose. Looked
And
like
yeah,
Commanders
and they
were
didn't
gonna win.
look, which again, the Commanders always seem to play the Eagles fantastic.
Can't beat the Bears, though.
One thing else, yeah. The one thing I'll say about the Eagles is, how about A.J. Brown?
Yeah, dude, he went off.
He's phenomenal.
Man.
And
he looked really, really good.
speaking of trades, I think that was one of the biggest steals in the trade over the last couple of years was when they got A.J. Brown from Tennessee.
Yeah.
Ever since A.J. Brown's come
Just
to
the
Philadelphia.
weapon that he is. Because, I mean, they've really got probably a top 10 or I'd say top 10. I don't know if I'd say quite top 5. But in the big 3 positions, quarterback, running back, and receiver.
Well, and DeAndre Swift, their new running. I mean, he's the first year in Philadelphia this year. He's
pretty good.
He's good. He's done well.
I'd say top 10 anyway. Yeah. I don't know if I'd say top 5. I'm not that good. Hurts is definitely probably a top 5 QB.
And their talent. I mean, offensively they're good enough, and defensively they're a very
good
good
team.
too.
They're very formidable right now. If I had to pick a team based off of consistency, I'm picking the Eagles, even though they almost lost to my team. But they always play.
Yeah.
The Commanders-Eagles game, it's a really big rivalry, same division. It's a big game every year.
Those rivalry games.
We ended their streak
divisional,
last year, and we weren't very good last year.
Well, and you went a couple weeks ago. You went to overtime against them.
It's always a big game, so I don't think we should hold this against the Eagles. I think it's just it's one of those rivalries where it's always going to be close. It doesn't matter what team's best.
And we talked about last week how to play consistently good in the NFL is tough to do, and that's been something that Philadelphia has done over the last year and a half.
Yeah, year and a half, 2 years.
As they've figured out ways to, even if it doesn't look pretty, they consistently find ways to win games. And so right now they're sitting top of the NFL about halfway through the season. Yeah. So we'll see how it plays out for them. But right now that's a good win for Philadelphia. And Washington, obviously they know that with the trades they made too, they know this is not their year.
It's a rebuilding year for sure.
But the fact that they've got young guys like Sam Howell playing
that are looking good.
Yes.
Between Sam Howell, Terry McLaurin, we're not going to let him go.
Well, you got Jahan Dotson. You also got Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
You got
we
some
have
good
a very
weapons.
good receiving core. B-Rob is pretty good. Brian Robinson for us.
Logan Thomas at
we've
tight
got
end.
Yeah, Logan Thomas has been pretty good. I mean, he's not great, but
wasn't Logan Thomas a quarterback in college? I think
he was a quarterback
in college, but he converted tight end.
It's kind of like a joke if you're a Commanders fan. Our best tight end is a quarterback.
Yeah. Well, he's played good though.
But he has definitely played better than I thought he was going to play this year. I did not think he was going to do very good. But good win for the Eagles. Obviously, I know they would have liked to have won more, but when you're playing a team like the Commanders, when it's a rivalry the way it is, the way they played.
And this game was in Washington too, so
was.
A road divisional game, never going to be easy. Find a way to win, and you're now atop the NFL right now.
Yeah, not top of the NFC East, top of the NFC, top of football.
Yeah. So next game, and this was a bit of a shocker.
Surprise.
As the top two picks of this last year's draft face off, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, and the Carolina Panthers get their first win of the year. They were the last team to get their first win.
Took a while.
They was in Carolina. It was not a great high scoring game on either side of the ball.
No.
The thing is, Houston's looked better than Carolina. They're just not consistent. They're a young team.
They're young.
But they're hard to figure out what they're going to look like week to week.
Well, the thing with Houston is I don't think anyone expected them to really
do anything.
do anything. So the fact that they're 3-4 through 7 weeks,
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
I feel like
I agree.
Their season so far has been a success.
I think this
based on how people thought it was going to go.
This is the worst loss for them so far, though.
I would definitely agree with that. They didn't look good. C.J. Stroud still didn't look bad. He still looked lean. Still no picks. He still only has that one pick on the season, which
almost
amazing.
wasn't a pick.
It almost wasn't.
But he also didn't throw any touchdowns, only 140 yards.
No, he was low on yards, but his efficiency wasn't bad, 16 for 24. He still played a good game. He's looking very good for a rookie. Right now, I would still say he's probably the best rookie out of the class.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, I don't know. Laporta would almost – he's just been phenomenal.
Well, you got a couple guys there in
I mean,
Detroit,
really,
which we'll get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, say Jahmyr Gibbs looked fantastic.
This rookie class has been pretty good. And none of the people you really would have expected, because I don't think anybody really expected Stroud to be as good as he is.
And we'll get to this a little bit too, but Will Levis getting his first start, he looked fantastic
He did actually look really good.
Not much to talk about this game, but congratulations, Carolina, getting your first win. These are both teams that I think are kind of in the rebuilding process.
Yeah.
So considering Houston has actually looked fairly good, but this was not a great game for them in Carolina.
Yeah, if I was a Houston fan, I wouldn't get too upset. I mean, obviously it's upsetting to lose, especially to a team that had no wins coming into the game. But the thing is, you have to remember you're a rebuilding team. No one expected you to be good this year.
Yeah.
And if you expected yourselves to be good, you're lying to yourselves. Okay?
Well, you always want to compete as well as you can. But yeah, you got to be realistic at times too.
You got to be realistic.
And I think for Carolina, even though they had not won until now, they had been in some games. They had competed at least.
Yes, they have. They didn't get completely blown out every game.
But they finally get that win, and that's a confidence booster for a young team moving forward. Obviously, at 1-6, you're not going to do anything this year, but
no, you're going to be getting. They won't be getting a pick.
Yeah, no, they don't have a pick. Yeah, so that's tough, but I guess it's positive for the future, I guess. But that's the tough thing is you don't even have your pick.
Your pick doesn't count, so sucks for you.
But whatever.
Don't trade your picks
next game, and this was surprising. I think we both picked the Rams, right? Cowboys versus
the first half.
Oh yeah, the Cowboys.
They just obliterated them. I mean,
another team that's good but lack of consistency. They can do this one week, and then we'll see what they do this next week. But the Rams, who are 3-5, but I think they're a good team. But they go into Dallas and they get obliterated.
They just got beat. I mean, they did not have a good game. I don't think anybody on the team really stuck out as, wow, they actually played pretty decent despite the loss. The Cowboys just obliterated them on every end of the ball.
I mean, I think, and with that, Prescott had a great game. He did throw one pick, but 25, 31, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. Fantastic.
You can't complain about that.
The defense for Dallas looked like that top defense that we thought they may have. They looked fantastic. CeeDee Lamb, 2 of Dak's 4 touchdowns, he caught for 158 yards and had 12 receptions.
I actually had him on my fantasy team, so I was very happy with the outcome of this game.
Kupp and Nacua, though, both who have been looking really good as of lately, were not.
Yeah,
they
did not have that type of game.
I actually had Kupp on my fantasy team as well, and he didn't do much.
Ooh, yeah.
They really both.
Only 3.
3 receptions
for Nacua for 43 yards. Kupp had 4 for 21. Yeah, just
not great. But part of the problem was it's not. They the Cowboys' defense just looked good.
Yeah, give credit to Dallas's defense all around. A good game.
I mean,
for
it's
Dallas.
not like Stafford was just throwing the ball all over the field. They just didn't.
He threw one pick six, and I think
He
think
did.
Dallas may have even got a safety this game.
Did they?
I believe so.
Let's find out.
Yes,
Yep,
they
they
did.
did get a safety.
So you throw a pick six, you get a safety. A lot of the points and field position wise, and why Dallas was in such a good position. Mind you, their offense played great too, but was because of how good their defense played. Their defense put them in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams really just they didn't look like they could move the ball all day. Obviously, they did move the ball.
They did, but a lot of their points came in the second half.
Yeah.
Let's see what was
almost all their points. Box score.
Yeah, let's go to the box score.
Yeah, they didn't have a single touchdown until the second half, and I believe.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
did they have a touchdown?
I don't know if they just missed the extra point. I'm guessing it was 2 field goals, so I don't think they did have a touchdown. Let's look at their field goals.
So yeah, they had one.
They had 2 touchdowns.
Oh, they had 2 touchdowns.
So maybe it was a touch. Yeah, okay.
So they missed a PAT.
They must have missed the PAT.
Well, that's embarrassing.
But so technically, I guess it was more spread out throughout the half than I thought. The only difference was they missed the PAT in the first half and they got a 2-point conversion in the second half. But other than that, just
Either way, it wasn't a good game for the Rams.
But I guess I guess the Rams consistently scored. It was Dallas that just scored so much in the first half that it was not even a game.
Well, they blew them away in time of possession too. Dallas held on to the ball. And when you can control the ball more, you're going to win games, especially when you're a team like Dallas and you can move the ball as efficiently as they can. Not that the Rams can't move the ball efficiently, but today they just
and this is a positive for Dallas. It's just, can you continue to do this?
Yeah.
I think they play Philadelphia this next week, so
Yeah.
that'll be interesting. A
That's
divisional
a
game,
rivalry game too.
2 good teams. We'll see what we get out of that. But this was a good win for Dallas, though. But can
Definitely a
they
good
continue
win.
to build upon this?
Because the Rams are definitely better than their 3-5
Yeah.
record. They're a good team. They just haven't had much luck.
Next game
The saddest game of the week, and we all get a moment of silence
for Kirk Cousins.
For Kirk Cousins. Doo-doo-doo. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean,
he
you
played
win.
a good game, and they won an important game.
You win a big game,
but
a
it
divisional
didn't
game,
matter.
but now you lose your quarterback for the season.
Yeah, and now they have
And,
Dobbs, right? Or is it Dobbs?
They traded for Dobbs
yeah, now
just
they have
today.
Dobbs as the quarterback. What
which
a
hasn't looked
replacement is
terrible.
that? Yeah, but he wasn't Kirk
he's not
Cousins. Kirk Cousins
yeah.
is great.
So now Justin Jefferson's still out. Kirk Cousins out for
Kirk
the year.
Cousins has probably been having the best
Thing
year
is-
of his career.
4-4, while they have not looked good, especially to start the year, they're still in a position where they could fight for a
And you
wild
got to
card.
remember that they didn't have Jefferson the first
Yeah, Jefferson's
four
been out
games.
for a couple weeks now. So
Well, not the first 4 games. He's been
But
out
for-
the last
yeah,
couple
yeah,
games.
last couple
yeah, that
games.
was Cooper Kupp that was out the first 4 games.
But yeah, this is in a win against a divisional rival on the road.
To lose your
It's
quarterback.
almost
This is a
it's almost
gut-wrenching
more
win.
of a loss than a win for the
I
Vikings.
mean, obviously
here.
it's a win on the stat sheet, but
This is
as far as your season goes, man,
And
that
Kirk
sucks.
Cousins-
They're going to be a lot harder to come by.
and Kirk,
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is a guy that has not missed a lot of games throughout his career for injuries either. So
This is his best year statistically of his career so far. This is probably the best he's played. It's in a contract year, and now he's injured.
what's the future
It's-
look like for him and
Do
for
they
Minnesota?
They keep him in Minnesota?
Yeah,
Do
I don't know.
Do they lose the rest of the games to try to get a draft pick? What do they do? I mean,
So
it's
either
going to
way,
be a tough year going forward for
think-
Minnesota. We have to watch a few weeks to see probably
Yeah.
what their season's going to turn into now.
we both picked Minnesota though, right? So I mean, they got the win. but
Yeah,
yeah.
we're right there. But Green Bay has looked awful. Jordan Love has not looked good all
No.
year. Well, he did for 2 games.
But they played what, Chicago, and I don't know who their second win was against, but
It wasn't great.
Detroit's sitting pretty in that division right now. Let's just say that.
In Green Bay, I don't know if they're going to. Obviously, they're not going to not start Jordan Love. Jordan Love's going to have probably a couple years to get warmed up.
In
but-
another trade that we didn't talk about is my Bills. The one trade we did is we got a corner from Green
Yeah.
Bay. So yeah, I will. That obviously that was a position of need for us. So Green Bay again, a team I think that knows they're not a playoff team this
They
year,
know
which
they're
is
not
very
in it.
rare for Green. I know.
Yeah, most Green Bay fans don't
Are
know
not
how
used
to
to
handle
this.
it.
They're not used to this. No.
I feel like next year you will see much lower fan count at their games.
But hey, welcome to a lot of other teams.
yeah, welcome to
worlds.
most teams. You
Yeah.
see,
So
this team, we've sucked forever.
and
so.
this team who did suck.
Yeah,
finally,
but you guys have been good. Get over it.
Finally
Whatever.
has been good, but haven't been able to get over the hump.
Yeah, you won your division like 4 years in a row. Get over yourself.
But before that, we literally went 17 years without making
true.
it to the
Yeah.
playoffs. So
Tom Brady.
yeah, that's 'cause
Yeah,
Tom
you
Brady was
played.
there.
You played.
But we
Tom
were also
Brady,
trash
so.
too. My whole life growing up, we were bad. We finally have been good, but Green Bay fan. I mean, it's been like 2 generations that Green
It
Bay's
has
been
been,
good.
yeah, because they had Favre.
Yeah,
and then they
I mean,
had
it was back to the
Aaron
Bills'
Rodgers.
old '90s Super Bowl days that they had Favre, and then it's been a while for Green Bay.
It has
so.
definitely been a while.
Anyway, next game, the Saints and Colts. This was a game that
You picked the Colts.
I picked the Colts. Okay, so Dominic got
lost in
this
the
one
end.
right.
Derek Carr actually looked very good.
And Taysom Hill, 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, the Saints just looked really good. They had a very good game against the questionable Colts team.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd call them bad. Gardner Minshew has
They're not
actually
bad,
looked pretty good.
But they're not great.
Yeah, no.
But that's the same I'd say for the Saints so far this year. They've been good, but not great. But
Yeah.
this was a good game for
This
them.
was definitely a good game. Their defense probably could have done better, but the thing is with Gardner Minshew's actually a pretty good quarterback. As far as backups go, he's one of the best in the league because he could be a starter on some of these teams.
And he's got experience.
He does. He has experience as a starter, I believe, in Jacksonville.
Yeah, it was Jacksonville is where he started, yeah.
So he's not a bad QB. They did give up 27 points to him. But when you score 38.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's still, you would have liked their defense to be a little bit better against a team like the Colts, who aren't great. But
for a road game, when your
especially
offense is scoring 38, I mean, that's...
yeah. Well, how long? Let's look at time of possession was actually
pretty
almost identical.
even, yeah.
So, I mean, the Saints were a whole lot more efficient on offense than the Colts were, clearly. Ton more first downs. They were I mean, their third down efficiency wasn't great, 6 for 12.
It was pretty... The Colts were a little worse on third down.
Yeah.
But really, if you look at the stats-wise, it's pretty even other than total yards, Saints won, and plays, time possession. It was pretty equal. It's just the
Derek
Saints
Carr-
got more yards and scored more points.
Yeah, Derek
at the end
Carr
of the day.
definitely he's a better QB than Minshew. Derek Carr looked how I expected him to look
Most
at
of
the
the season,
beginning
yeah.
of the year. And I think a lot of people really expected him to be better than he has played. Hopefully he's finally settling into the offense.
Yeah.
I would like to see that because I would like to see Derek Carr perform good or perform well.
And this is a team that's still right there in the mix that if they start
with
winning
a 4
games
and
like
4,
this,
with a 4-4 record, you really can't complain.
No.
I mean, obviously, I think the Saints fans wanted to be better this point in the season, especially since they went and they got Derek Carr and they made some moves. I think they expected to be better.
but you're still not in a bad spot.
But at this point in the season, the way that you've played, being 4-4, you can still make the playoffs. I wouldn't be too upset.
And again, it's a thing that I have been harping on recently the last couple weeks, but consistency. What are you going to get next?
Exactly. Is Derek Carr going to play well, or is he going to throw 3 picks?
The teams that play the most consistent are usually the teams that by the end of the year are
Top of the division.
And that's what we're seeing right now is kind of teams back. Obviously, it's hard to predict and know what's going to happen week to week, but the teams that are consistently good are usually at the top. The Saints have looked good at times, but what are we going to get, moving forward?
Are we going to get the Saints that score 38 points,
Yes.
or are we going to get the
Saints
that give
their
up
offense barely
40
shows.
points?
Yeah. So, and their offense barely shows up. So yeah, but a good win for the Saints on the road as we move forward. AFC East battle down to Miami. The Patriots coming off their biggest win of the year against my Bills, going to Miami, who has looked fantastic. They hung around for a while,
They did.
but Miami was able to come out with the win.
Miami outlasted them. Mac Jones still isn't good.
Yeah, I mean, he threw 2 touchdowns, but that one pick that he threw was bad.
It was bad. He has not.
Yeah.
Mac Jones has not been what I think Belichick expected him to be, or
No.
really any of the Patriots just in general, the fans and the team. Tua has looked just phenomenal this year. He stayed healthy,
Yeah,
which has
which is
surprised
key,
me.
yeah.
That's the biggest thing. I think we all knew Tua had talent. The biggest
just, can
thing
he
was
stay
just
healthy?
can he
Yep.
stay healthy? And it's not like he hasn't been hit this year.
No.
He stayed healthy, which is good for him, good for the Dolphins. It's nice to see that because honestly, if I'm going on the offense, I think the Dolphins probably have a top 5 offense in the league.
Yeah, they have a really good offense.
Between all their receiving core and then Tua. Tua's got a heck of an arm this year.
And I'd say the Dolphins' weakness is their defense, but they actually are getting some defensive pieces back. I believe Jalen Ramsey, who they picked up in the offseason, who hasn't played yet. I think he played his first game. I think he got the interception.
Did he?
So that's a piece defensively that you're getting back if you're Miami.
Yeah, yes. Ramsey did.
So
49 yards.
It's looking pretty good if you're Miami. The way the offense is played, now you're getting some defensive pieces back.
Yeah, Miami's in a pretty good spot right now. 6-2, they're tied for second best record in the NFL with like 2 or 3 other teams.
Yeah, I think with Kansas City, who they play this next week, which
that'll be a big game.
Detroit 6-2, which they're in the NFC.
Is crazy,
but
by the way, that Detroit.
We'll talk about them too, but yeah. But Miami keeping the train on the tracks and rolling ahead.
And the Patriots playing bad as they have all year.
Yeah, not a good.
Except for the one game last week.
Yeah, speaking of ugly games,
this was super ugly.
You have to
now
settle for your third string quarterback.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Last week he said if Tyrod plays, the Giants are going to win. He technically started, but he didn't last long because he got hurt.
Does it count? He played.
He did play. Daniel Jones.
I said started. I did. I said started.
But he only. Okay, this is what's bad for the Giants. Now we know the Jets' defense is good and the Giants' offense has looked bad. But let's just say Tyrod threw for 8 yards. Their third string guy came in. I think he threw for -2. So it was bad.
-1.
Okay, yeah, negative. Like they only had six completions. 6 completions for 7 yards. You're averaging 1 yard, almost like 1 yard per completion. That is so bad.
This dude's a rookie.
That is terrible. He's a rookie. His stats are
his picture isn't even on CBS Sports.
And his total NFL career stats is 2 completions for -1.
This poor guy.
Because he was throwing basically backwards.
He was throwing because I saw the end of that game. He barely passed.
Like 3rd and 20, and
he's checking it down behind the line of scrimmage of Saquon, and they're just gang tackling him. Like it's not gonna. Yeah.
This was a horrible game for both teams.
The funny thing is the Jets are not good, but their defense is awesome, and they're 4-3. Their defense is carrying this team.
The fact that they're 4-3 is surprising because they're not good enough to be 4-3.
The thing is now Rodgers hasn't got hurt that first week, but now I saw Rodgers is he going a little too fast? He's trying to.
Yeah, he's already up.
He's already up and
running around,
doing some things. So that would be an incredible story if. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but if Rodgers were to somehow get back at the end of the year and you're in a position
into the playoffs,
you know what I'm saying? Like you're 4-3.
It was all part of the NFL script. It's a super interesting storyline.
But either way, ugly game. The Battle of New York, New Jersey, but New York City, I guess.
I wouldn't be proud to be a fan.
The Giants were the Giants were the home team. It's pretty much a home game for both.
Yeah, it is.
But
it's like what?
The Jets find a way to win in overtime. But what an ugly game! What a terrible.
Both teams. I mean, I guess if you want a positive, nobody threw any interceptions.
He just threw for negative yards.
Look, he still completed passes.
Yeah, hey, even though you weren't getting anywhere, you're not throwing it to the other team. You just punted it to the other team. How many punts were in this game, by the way? Wasn't there like 20-some?
3, I think.
That is insane.
You're not turning it over. You're just punting it to the other team.
But is that a stat you can look up as punts? Punts. 6, 7, 8, 9. No, there's only 9.
How is punt yards? I'm confused how that.
So it's punts is the first one, and then the yards from the punts.
That can't be right, because I heard there was.
Yeah.
I don't know, but there was a lot of punts this game.
Well, let's fumble. Okay, punt. That was just the first quarter.
I'm losing track. Look at this. Punt.
Okay, this is the most pathetic second quarter of 24. Jeez. That's a lot.
Wow.
So this is the best second quarter in all of football. This is how each possession in the second quarter
in just one
ended.
quarter. Punt, Jets.
Yeah.
Punt, Giants. Punt, Jets. Punt, Giants. punt Giants, punt Giants, fumble Jets, punt Giants, punt Jets, punt Giants. In one quarter.
That's already 10, and it's
That was awful.
10 in 1 quarter.
That was awful.
Oh,
That's just
man.
atrocious. Like, horrible football.
Look at the third quarter.
Third quarter, they did start with a touchdown.
Touchdown, then punt.
Bunch of punts.
Missed field
on
goal.
Downs. Made field goal, punt.
And then the field goal to win the game and over.
Just what a pathetic
What
game.
a bad game.
Both of these teams are bad.
But
Moving on.
the Jets somehow are in
the Jets are somehow
4-3.
4-3.
So I don't know. Either way, a crazy, ugly game. Jets find another way to win an ugly game. Defense is dominating. We'll see how the season goes. But wow,
That's the most punts in a game in 25 years.
yeah, 25 years most punts
What
in a
was
game.
the last time? The one Super Bowl where there was 9 million punts, and the Super Bowl MVP should have been the Patriots punter.
Probably.
Anyway, moving on. Jacksonville at Pittsburgh, and Jacksonville now has the longest winning streak in the NFL. I think
Yeah,
at
they
5.
do. I didn't even think about that.
Jacksonville continues their win streak on a roll, going into Pittsburgh and getting a win.
Yep, against the picketless Steelers.
Yeah, Pickett gets hurt in this game. Another QB that goes down this week. I don't know what the extent of his injuries are or how long he's going to be out.
I don't think they've announced it. I don't think they've said anything.
But I think it was a rib thing. But Trubisky's not a bad backup either.
He's not. I don't think.
I don't think he's the answer.
Yeah,
but
I definitely. I mean, it says Pickett said he was playing against the Titans next week. So
it's not anything probably too serious then. But
yeah,
this was also a rainy, sloppy game to start as far as just the weather wise. But Jacksonville, continuing. I saw something where they played in how many stadiums? I think like 3 time zones. Because they were over in London.
They've been doing good too. I mean,
but they keep winning.
They do. Go Jacksonville, man. I'm rooting for them. I hope that they do good.
They're in a very good spot right now.
I think one thing that really helped Jacksonville win this game, not that I think they needed a whole lot of help. The Steelers aren't necessarily a fantastic team to begin with. Their defense is fairly good.
Yeah.
The Jaguars did play good against that, but the Jaguars really split it up between the run and the pass game.
Yeah.
24 run attempts, 32 passes. That's a good balance where you have I'm sure it was more than that just with their main running.
Well, that
back.
was just ETN, how many carries he had.
So 30 rushing attempts. I mean, that's pretty good.
And 32 passing attempts.
Yeah. That's a really good
balanced attack.
Really good balance.
Yeah.
Keeping the defense on their toes. When you have the ability to do that with a good run offense, or even not even a good run offense, but a decent run offense and a good pass offense, it is very difficult to defend.
Yes.
It is very difficult to defend. Having that option makes your team very good, and I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be a very good team come playoffs.
Yeah, and look, Pickett got hurt. It was, like I said, the rain was a factor, but considering Jacksonville balanced offensive attack looked good, especially in the second half. Steelers got a good defense, but they figured out a way to. I mean, it wasn't a high scoring game by any means, but they were effective. And they just were the better team.
I mean, they were the better controlled the ball a whole lot more than the Steelers did. Jacksonville outplayed the Steelers in pretty much every facet.
And the Steelers haven't looked great this year, but they're 4-2 going in this game. This was a big game.
It was important
for AFC,
playoff
standings as far as looking forward. And Jacksonville again on the road, not a pretty game, but they continue their win streak and get another one here. So
they're looking good. Go Jaguars.
Next game, and now we'll talk about the the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
Will Levis. This was an interesting game. Taylor Heineke comes in.
I love Heineke.
For the Falcons, and Will Levis. His first start of his career.
Heineke looked pretty good.
Both quarterbacks looked decent.
Honestly, Levis looked phenomenal.
But Levis looked phenomenal.
Let's just talk about that.
Hey,
as far as first games in the NFL goes, it doesn't get much better than that.
How much you want to bet that Will Levis's draft night girlfriend is calling him back saying, "Hey,
yeah,
I'm sorry we broke up. You weren't a first rounder, but hey, you come in now.
4 TDs. I mean, what is he gonna do? That's more than some people get in their career."
The funniest meme that I saw was it said. It was like a wrestling meme, but it said Will Levis's draft night girl trying to call him and get him back, and it was him it was a guy like body slam. It was like, that's a whole nother thing, but Will Levis, hey, he was.
His picture on CBS Sports looks like a businessman.
He looks like
He's got a suit and tie.
A real estate agent.
He does look like a real estate agent.
But either way, Will Levis' first start. I know he was projected to be a first rounder. Went in the second round. It's interesting because in Tennessee you had Tannehill, and Malik Willis was there too. So would Will Levis ever play? Well, he got his chance and
he
looked
proved
good.
that he was good against a not horrible Falcons defense. Wouldn't say they're great, but they're not bad. This was definitely what I would. I mean, as much as a game this early in the season can be a must-win. As far as morale goes, this was a must-win game for the Titans,
well, and
they won it.
And let me just say this for the Titans: this is what moving forward the Titans, if they want to make a run at the playoffs, should look like. You want to talk about balance? You got Will Levis throwing for 4 touchdowns. Derrick Henry didn't get a touchdown, but had over 100 yards. And DeAndre Hopkins, your big offseason acquisition, 3 touchdowns for over 100 yards. Only had 4 receptions, but three of them were touchdowds.
Now have him on your bench in fantasy.
So,
I see that when I was scrolling through. I was like, oh, poor Devin.
You had, if you're Tennessee, you had 29 throws, 36. Again, pretty balanced. 36 rushing attempts, so pretty balanced and good win at home.
If Tennessee can continue to play like they did this game the rest of the year, they might squeak into the playoffs.
They could, yeah.
Which I think we kind of expected them to do anyway.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Will Levis continues to. Be the starter.
He
for them.
proved that he deserves a chance. 4 touchdowns doesn't get much better than that.
And pretty consistent, too. A touchdown a quarter. They got 7 every quarter this game. But yeah, I just find that funny because he was just how everything went out or turned out for him on draft night. And then
it was kind of funny.
He comes out and
it's not. I'm sure he didn't think it was funny. But
no.
Funny for everybody else. Wait, might go back.
So, good win for the Titans as we move forward. Now into the afternoon games. Cleveland at Seattle. This was a good game,
It was a very good game. It was actually very entertaining as well. I think it was a last-second touchdown.
It was. Jackson Smith-Njigba scored the game-winning touchdown for the Seahawks, who also wore their throwback jerseys. P.J. Walker still in for the Browns. Both teams coming in with 2 losses. One AFC, one NFC team. But just a good all-around game and came down to the wire and Seattle,
and the Seahawks are looking really good, and
well, they're technically ahead of that in that division now because the 49ers, with their 3rd loss, Seahawks only got 2. They're now number 1 in their division,
which is crazy because the 49ers are definitely a better team.
Yeah,
by far.
But don't count out Seattle right
definitely
now.
Don't count out Seattle. They're looking very good. Geno Smith didn't have his best game this week.
No.
2 picks. Definitely don't want to see that, but had 2 TDs. Still, you'd like to not throw the ball to the other team.
I think what I like about Seattle, and I know I've said this in weeks past, is Geno Smith's playing good enough, but then just the defense is playing decent too, but offensively too. The young weapons that they have between Kenneth Walker at running back, Jackson Smith and Njigba obviously getting a touchdown here. You got that Bobo guy who's also a rookie doing good. And then obviously you got Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. So,
Seattle's definitely looking good. Obviously, Geno Smith is going to be around for a while. They signed him to that big deal this offseason. He hasn't actually looked bad this year at all, I don't think. He's looked pretty decent. You'd like to see a few less picks, but,
that's going to happen.
You're going to happen, and 6 picks isn't horrible.
And it's not hurting. Sometimes, too, picks are going to happen. It's when
the
picks come and how they come. Yeah, so.
Yeah. He's not looking too bad. For how much they're paying him, I think they probably want him to do better.
But 5-2 at this point, I think
at this point the record they can't complain with. They
can't
complain with the results that they're getting. They might be able to complain with a few players play here and there. But as far as their record goes and the team as a whole, I'd be very happy with it.
And I'll say this for Cleveland. You also, I think, considering how things have gone, Nick Chubb being out and Deshaun Watson being out for a couple weeks, you're still happy at 4-3. The last couple weeks, you've been lucky you've won. But the fact that you're competing every week is good. Now, this week you were on the losing end of a close game, barely losing. But either way, you're competing 4-3. You're in a decent spot considering you just happen to be on the losing end. Whereas the last couple weeks, you pulled out a win.
Kareem Hunt, as far as backups goes, is probably the best in the league.
Yeah, and the funny thing about Kareem Hunt is he was a backup for them, was technically not on the roster to start the season this year, but they re-signed him because he was a free agent, and after Nick Chubb injury, they got him back, and he scored a touchdown, been playing well. Obviously,
he's nowhere near as good as he was in his
but he
prime,
knows the system. He played there, and
he has the ability.
It works out.
His ceiling is very high.
And P.J. Walker has not played bad either. Now, this was not his best game either.
Njoku coming out of the woodworks. He ain't been good in a while.
He's another guy. He's good, but he's just
he's
not
just all over the place.
Yeah, he's not consistent.
He's always good or not good at all. Let's look at his game log this year. I mean, for a tight end.
Actually, this was his best game of the year, though.
It was definitely his best game of
sure.
the year as far as yards or
and
receptions,
he got his
everything.
first touchdown of the year in this game, too. So, yeah. Cleveland was close, just couldn't pull it out in the end. And a good win for Seattle, who's looking good.
Yeah.
Next game, Baltimore at Arizona. This game was actually close. I mean, we both picked Baltimore. We thought Baltimore was going to win, but
it was closer than I thought it was going to be.
Down.
Definitely closer than I thought it was going to be. I think this is one time where I think Baltimore's defense probably helped them more than their offense, which is odd because their offense is good.
And interesting, too, Baltimore coming off of that big win at home against Detroit last week. Lamar Jackson had probably his best game of the year. Not that he played bad, but he didn't do anything special this game.
It wasn't nearly like last week.
Edwards now, he had his best game of the year. 80 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground for him. So that's a bright spot for sure for Baltimore.
Yeah, and it's always nice to see your backup step up when the
Dobbins has been
main
out
guy
since
goes
week
out.
1.
Yeah,
and Edwards has not played bad, but this was
his best game all year for sure.
Good.
Definitely a breakout. Kind of weird for the Cardinals to talk about Dobbs now that
because he's not even there anymore.
On their team. He is a Viking.
This is the last game for Dobbs in Arizona,
which I don't think anyone expected.
No,
if you would have told me that they were going to trade Dobbs last week,
but the reason that happened is because Kirk Cousins got hurt, and that was not expected.
But why did they trade
either.
for Dobbs? Like, that's such a weird.
I mean, I think you figure he's a guy that, considering the team he plays on, has looked halfway decent.
That's true. What is he going to look like on
Arizona
a team that has
is a team that was probably willing to give him up because they're not going anywhere anyway.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, it makes sense. I would not have expected that to happen.
It's a very weird move.
But
very weird.
If you think about it, I guess it does make sense. But interesting. Either way, road win for Baltimore wasn't pretty, but they got another win. So they're another team that we didn't mention that's 6-2.
Yeah.
So good
There's
for
a lot
Baltimore.
of 6-2 teams. And the Cardinals are still bad.
And they're going to be worse without Dobbs.
Because now they're not going to have a quarterback.
So next game. My favorite game of the week.
Broncos country.
Let's ride. Woo! Yes.
Pat Mahomes sucks. I don't even know who even is Pat Mahomes.
Pat Mahomes.
Bench him. He sucks.
Oh, no, but he was sick.
Patrick Mahomes.
Sick, whatever.
Patrick Mahomes can win with anyone, right?
I seem to remember athletes like Michael Jordan having a flu game.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I thought Patrick Mahomes could win with receivers in the crowd, right? And now the excuse is his receivers can't catch. Oh, well, boo-hoo, Patrick Mahomes. Guess what?
They can shake it off.
Yeah, shake it off. If you're so good, if you're the GOAT, which you're not the GOAT, Tom Brady's the GOAT.
Yeah.
But if you're so good, you should be able to win with anyone, right? That was the narrative, right? The Broncos, come on. We know it's a road division game, but still.
You let
what's
Russell
going
Wilson
on?
beat you.
And now you got to go to Germany and play the Dolphins? What's going on? Guess
You're going to have 3 losses. You suck.
Take that, Nick Wright.
Yeah, Nick Rock. Oh, that's hilarious. Anyway, back to being serious here. The Broncos played great.
They did play good.
The Chiefs played horrible. The Chiefs' defense looked bad. The Chiefs'
5 turnovers for
the Chiefs' offense looked worse.
For the Chiefs.
The
They didn't score.
Broncos
Hey,
looked great on every
can I just
facet
say
of the ball.
this? Miami scored 70 on this Denver defense. You played 2 games against the Broncos and could only score 1 touchdown. Miami scored 10 in 1 game. You only scored 9 this week. And you got to play Miami. Guess what? That was terrible. I'm sorry. This is really bad.
This was probably the worst game all year. Like, as far as expectations
And
go.
I know the Bills have not played good consistently, but this
was just awful.
was bad. And Denver, I think, has actually looked better than their record.
Russell Wilson at least
Russell
has
Wilson
looked
played
very
good.
good. And he actually played a very good game. Not yards-wise, but he threw a ton of touchdowns.
But this is the biggest win for Denver in the last couple of years, and they finally put it together in a big game, which they needed at
That
home.
no one expected that
against
to
the
win.
team that has beat up on them pretty much since Peyton Manning's
What is it,
left.
14 years or
It's
something
been
like that?
I don't know if it was that long, but it's been
Wait,
how many consecutive games?
since 2015.
Okay, so but they play each other twice a year because we're in the
Wait,
same
what's
division.
the-
So it's what? I think it was like in the teens, 16.
Why doesn't it say? It just says 12. Wait, 12 win? No.
Also, that's Mahomes' first road loss in the division ever. 16.
Wow, that's how crazy is that? Your first road loss
What
to
a way
Denver, and it's the worst loss ever. Like
You
it's
couldn't
so
even
bad.
find the end zone.
No, that's embarrassing. I would quit. I would retire if I was Pat Mahomes.
And I hope they just get obliterated against Miami this next week.
Also, we have to point it out because, you know, you can't be a football thing and not talk about Taylor Swift anymore. Travis Kelce does indeed suck unless
Also,
Taylor Swift is
I
there.
will say, the positive for Taylor Swift, if you're a Chiefs fan, she makes Travis Kelce play way
Way
better.
better, like-
when she's there, Travis Kelce plays
He's at
good.
double the yards. Like, you can tell when she's there because he has insane
So much so that
stats.
they had to put the stats on during the game about how much worse he's playing since she's not
Never
there.
thought I would have seen that stat.
Yeah, a little weird stat, but no, yeah. If you're a Chiefs fan, this game sucks. You hate to see it. Unless
but-
if you're anyone other than a Chiefs fan, it's
Yeah.
hilarious.
The thing is, though, is being serious. We've talked. It's hard to consistently win the NFL, and every team has a bad game. But this was really bad.
This was just really bad. And the thing is, though, the Broncos also had a good game.
Yeah,
It's not like
yeah.
the Chiefs had a bad game and the Broncos still played bad. The Chiefs had a bad game and the Broncos took advantage of it.
Yeah, yeah.
The Broncos utilized every opportunity they could. They had an efficient game.
The crazy thing.
Both ends of the ball.
Yeah, the crazy thing is you said that the Broncos were going to win if it snowed. I think it snowed before the game, but I don't think it really snowed
That counts.
during the game. But
I'm counting that because I can do that.
I will say,
10 and 6, because I counted it as not. But
Well, we're counting it because it snowed. Was there snow on the ground anywhere in the field?
I
Probably
don't
not.
know
They
if it
probably
snowed
cleaned it
during
up.
the game, but I
it
do
was
think that.
on.
Wait, hold
The
on.
game was actually on.
Hold
I
on.
would have known. But
No, I saw.
Hold on. Did it
Not from
snow?
what I saw, it didn't snow.
Did it snow during the Chiefs game?
Because we watched the game, at least the end of it, not the whole
Yeah, I
game,
was going to say.
and there was no snow.
No, it stopped right before the game.
But they did.
Like 20 minutes before the game. It
Like I
stopped
say,
snowing.
it was snowing before the game. Yeah.
Man, whatever.
But hey,
I counted in my head, make me feel better.
as they played in the stadium, as all the Chiefs players walked off crying, just got to shake it off, man. Shake it off.
like the Taylor Swift song. Anyway,
Another game.
crazy game. Although this one isn't like outlandish
No,
because the Bengals, while they do have at the time a 3-3 record,
they're better
they're
than
way
that.
better than that.
They're
It's
on
the
that upward
Bengals.
trajectory again. They always, for some reason, start the season slow. They're looking good. And also, what's going on in San Francisco? This is now their third straight loss.
Again, as I'm not a Niners fan. If I were a Niners fan, I would not be upset at this
No.
loss.
And
I
now
mean,
you-
it sucks to lose to a team. It sucks to lose, but you lost to the Bengals, who are good, way
yeah.
better than their
And
record.
they had a really good game too.
And the Bengals played phenomenal. And it's not. Purdy did have two picks.
He's not looked
He's
great.
not looked great since he lost
McCaffrey
those other
continues
guys.
his touchdown
He
streak
does.
though,
McCaffrey still looked great. Yeah.
which I think ties the record. If he does one more, he breaks the all-time record.
Well,
in
and
that.
now the Niners,
To get
they've got
Young.
Chase Young. Now they have two of the
Debo
best
Samuel
defensive ends in the league.
has been out. He will come back at some point.
Yep.
So
Kittle had a
Yeah.
phenomenal game.
there's
this
a lot to
game.
look forward to if you're a Niners fan. Obviously, 3 straight, you don't want that.
I wouldn't be scared if I were a Niners fan. They're still making the playoffs,
but-
and they're still probably going to win their division.
So obviously, Seattle's we talked about is in their division, looking good. But I don't know. It's tough to see if you're a Niners fan, but at the same time, this is just how it goes, I guess. If you're a Niners fan, you'd rather, kind of like a Bills fan, that halfway through the year slump, you'd rather see it now than towards the end of the year. Mm-hmm. Can they turn around? I think they can.
Absolutely, they can. And this was a very important game if you're a Bengals fan to win.
Well, I'll say this too: if you're a Bengals fan, here you come again. Every year, it's like start the season slow, but now we're on that streak. We're going, and that's not good for me because we play the Bengals this next week.
I would like to point out that every time I start Joe Burrow on my fantasy team, he does horrible. And every time I bench him, he does phenomenal.
Hey, I'm just going to say.
You're welcome. It's my fault.
Kevin McAllister, man, the kid from Home Alone, he just starts playing better as soon as he gets closer to the Christmas season, That's all it is.
Okay.
That's.
It does look like it is a little bit.
He looks just like
he does.
But, that's. I don't know why the Bengals always start the season so slow, but they're getting it going now. As continuing the Sunday night game, this is what we expected would happen.
The baguette high did not last for very long.
Can I just say he looks a lot like NF?
Does he? I mean,
a little bit. I think maybe his picture on Sunday night he had the hat on too, like the beanie, and that's part of it.
Right, didn't.
But he did not have a great game. But let's just say this Bears team is still just not good.
It's still just a bad team. There's no one on the team
Chargers,
although they now have Montez Sweat from my team.
We'll see if that makes a difference.
For some reason.
They should get Fields.
Fields should come back, maybe.
Yeah. Although I'm not going to complain that we traded Montez Sweat because we got a second rounder, which is probably going to be
also, if you're Chicago,
top 3 second.
I don't know if you at this point if you really want to be good because you got 2 pick. Well, Carolina's pick and
you're
going to
have 2 top 5 picks.
So, and the Chargers are better than their record. They just have not been able to
Herbert looked very good this game.
Good game.
Very good. No picks, quite a few yards, 3 touchdowns.
And if you're a Chargers fan, even though it's the Bears, this is the type of team you wanted to see. Mm-hmm. And
kind of an odd stat. Austin Eckler, their running back, actually had more receiving yards and led the team in receiving yards than he did.
He had more receiving yards and he had rushing yards. And
he led the team in receiving yards by quite a bit.
So, but Austin Eckler's a good player. Here's another guy that's been in and out with injuries to start the year, finally getting back.
Yeah, and, which I'm glad because he's also on my fantasy team. And my fantasy team finally looks good again.
Kind of a weird game for Sunday night, but either way, Chargers, big win for them. Bears, still the Bears.
Definitely, if you're a Chargers fan, this was 100% a must-win game. If you lost this, your season was over.
Yeah.
If you lose to the Bears and go 2 games under 500, or they'd have been.
Yeah, they would have been 2 games.
Or no.
3 games, right?
They'd have been 3 games under 500.
Yeah, 3 games under. Sorry, yeah.
That would have been unacceptable, especially when people expected them to be good this year.
Yeah, I think I picked them as a wild card team, so I mean.
Your wild card pick still looks better than mine.
Yeah.
The Bears.
Well, speaking of your wild card picks, we can move on. One of them being the Raiders, who now sitting at 3-5.
Man, I don't know why Jimmy Garoppolo looks so bad this year.
But let's just talk about. I know every week it seems like we do this, but the Lions, man,
they're just so good.
And the one thing that I'll say is, I was talking to my dad. Living where we live, there's a lot of Lions. We live fairly close to Detroit, so growing up, the Lions have been bad, and sometimes I get stuck. I say stuck because it's just you don't usually want to watch the Lions because they haven't been good.
Yeah.
I've watched my fair share of Lions games. This was the most loud, electric I've ever heard Detroit.
Yeah.
And good for them, though, because they finally have something to cheer for, you know?
They've been bad for so long, and they finally have what I would consider this Lions team a top 5 team in the league.
Right now, I mean, they're one of those 6-2 teams. They're going to win a division, I mean, because their division's not good. The best team left in their division other than them is Minnesota, who lost Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, now they have Dobbs as the QB.
You're sitting in a great position if you're Detroit. And so you just don't want to – you want to prevent injuries and hopefully make a playoff push. But, as young as this team is, too, Jahmyr Gibbs having a career game as a rookie.
I mean, these guys just –
Laporta had another touchdown. I mean –
if you're a Lions fan, I mean, you can't be happier with how the season's going.
And that trade –
you couldn't ask for more.
When you traded Stafford a couple years ago to –
you thought it was over. And in 2 years.
But you turned those picks that you got in return into you made the best of those that you could, and it's really turning out fantastic for Detroit. Again, Jahmyr Gibbs, 152 yards and a touchdown just on the ground. I think he had some receiving too. Let's see. Yeah, he had
another 40 yards.
40 yards on, and then Laporta, 8 receptions, over 50 and a touchdown again. St. Brown didn't have a touchdown, but over 100 yards.
Laporta is he's just looked phenomenal. You don't see tight ends that are putting these numbers up, let alone tight ends as a rookie.
And look at these guys that are scoring. I mean, again, you got Gibbs and Laporta, rookies that are just
2 rookies
playing fantastic. St. Brown's
second year, third year, maybe.
Yeah, let's see.
Third year. But he's only 24.
Williams, who's in his second year at receiver, didn't have a big factor. Wasn't a big factor this game, but still another weapon on that offense.
It's just crazy.
Detroit,
all these young guys being led by Jared Goff, 942 years old.
In a great position. And I almost feel like Jared Goff seems older than he is.
Oh, never mind. Jared Goff's only 29.
Yeah.
I thought he was like 32.
He's not. I mean, he's still fairly young. I mean, he's not young, but he's
only
not.
his 8th season. I thought he'd been in the league way longer than that.
And so, enough about Detroit. With now to the Raiders, I don't know.
It's disappointing. With the weapons that they have, they should be better.
And you could see at the end of that game Davante Adams' frustration, which I don't blame him. There was a couple plays there at the end. He was open, and Jimmy Garoppolo just couldn't hit him.
Dude, Jimmy Garoppolo is throwing the ball everywhere.
All over the field. And that one pick that Garoppolo threw was not good.
Garoppolo has not looked good. And at this point, it's getting Garoppolo is holding the Raiders back for sure.
Because Davante Adams only had 1 reception for 11 yards. And Jacoby Myers, 1 reception for 9. I mean, that is not good. Your top 2 receivers.
Adams.
Oh, man. I mean, it was just
is the worst receiver on your team as far as yards go.
Literally the worst.
Like,
he had the most targets, but he only caught 1.
So
he had
is that his fault though?
No, it's not. Jimmy's throwing it all over. I'm telling you,
it's bad.
He was open a couple. Yeah, it is bad. And now with the trade deadline,
it's gone now.
It's gone now. That's what I'm saying. He's still there. So
it'd be interesting if Jimmy Garoppolo can't put it together and play better with his team. Then the Raiders are not going to go anywhere.
I mean, you got Hunter Renfrow, Austin Hooper, Jacoby Myers, Davante
Adams.
Have
weapons.
Justin, or is it Justin Jacobs? Yeah. At running back, they have just not put it together. And
Josh Jacobs.
Maybe Josh. Yeah, you're right.
Josh Jacobs, yeah.
Which, if I remember it, Josh Jacobs was, I think he led the league in rushing last year. Not the case this year. And then just receiving-wise, you got weapons, but not using them.
Not looking good.
Defensively, the Raiders' defense actually didn't play horrible this game. But when your offense is looking like that, you just can't.
When your offense looks like that, it doesn't matter how good your defense is.
And so, not good for the Raiders.
You'd really like to see the Raiders be better.
But Detroit is a good team, too, so give them credit.
Yeah, you can't really be upset about a loss like this, but you have to be upset at the way your team played. Because it's not like they played good and lost. They played bad.
Yes, that's true.
Their defense is the reason it's so close.
And their offense had opportunities that they didn't take advantage of. And, it's just, I don't know where you go if you're the Raiders, but this is not.
No.
This is not your year. But that was the end of Week 8. It's hard to believe that Week 8's already over.
It is crazy. We're already
getting into November.
Is this halfway point of the season?
Let's see. Yeah.
Halfway point of the season next week,
We're getting in November
folks.
now, and we're already halfway through the regular season, which is crazy. Seems like we just started this.
It really does. I guess we kind of have a little bit of time. We
went fairly quick there.
A quick recap of the trade deadline.
We talked about
probably the biggest move of the trade deadline, in my opinion, would be the Chase Young deal. Between that and Montez Sweat, one of those two.
Yeah.
Obviously, not just being a Commanders fan, but looking at how they are.
Yeah.
Montez Sweat's probably going to sign a really big deal this offseason. And being moved for a second-round pick was probably the most expensive trade as far as what they paid for him. Which I can't believe that they gave away a second-round pick for a guy on an expiring contract when they're bad.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense. Unless they re-sign him.
Well, here's
but
the
the
thing,
thing
though.
is, usually when you trade a second-round pick, especially when they're bad, so it's going to be a high second-round pick, I can't believe that there wasn't a stipulation that he has to sign an extension.
Well, here's what I think. I think they must have thought Montez Sweat was a good enough player, and they are going to re-sign him. And also, that second-round pick doesn't matter as much because you're going to get 2 high first-round picks.
Which they already traded for.
So
if they
think that's...
If they can re-sign...
I think that's part of it.
Yeah, because if you can re-sign Sweat, he's young enough, and he's very good.
So now you got a key defensive piece, and now you can focus on those first-round picks that you have. See how that turns out for Chicago.
As far as the Niners go, trading for Young...
just adds
you
on to
can't
that.
go wrong.
Yeah, just adds on to that already talented defense.
Because they didn't need that third-round pick. It's going to be a late third-rounder.
Well, and the Niners are not a team that's building for the future. They're trying to win now, you know? So,
and they have the room. They probably could re-sign Young. And even if they don't really need to.
I think
they're really not out anything.
I think they realized trade deadline, they've lost 3 straight. They're still got potential, but let's just bring in one more piece to really add on to this team and see if we can make a run.
When you can't go wrong with that. I definitely think that was probably a win-win for both teams there.
Yeah. And I think the interesting, we talk about trade deadline, I think the most before I move on, reuniting Nick Bosa and Chase Young.
That is just cool, having them on both sides of the ball. I'm trying to find just a list of...
But the Dobbs trade, I think that was the most...
That's the weirdest trade.
It makes
really
sense.
Don't...
Yeah, here you go. It makes sense, but it really does make sense, but it's interesting and not expected, being that you weren't expecting Kirk Cousins to get hurt. You weren't expecting...
And it had to be a scramble move.
It was a last minute
They had what, a day and a half?
Yeah.
Between him getting hurt and having to trade for Dobbs.
I'll tell you what, if you're a Vikings fan, you don't like to see, obviously, Cousins get hurt, but at least he did get hurt right before the trade line.
Yeah,
so you could at least try to get
move.
someone.
Yeah.
We'll see how that works out. It's very intriguing to me. Crazy move. Trade goes for my Bills, adding Rasul Douglas from Green Bay and a 5th pick for a 3rd. So that's obviously corner depth, something we need. Defensively, we're beat up. We lost Tre'Davious White, our top corner. So hey, we'll see how that plays out. But I liked adding another corner there. Another thing, it wasn't a trade, but we signed this weekend Leonard Fournette as well, former running back for the Buccaneers and Jaguars. He's now a veteran guy. He's
getting pretty old.
He is getting old, and I know Damian Harris, one of our running backs, got hurt. But we have Cook and Latavius Murray, who's also a older veteran running back. But we'll see how that plays out for Buffalo as a couple moves there.
The next thing we got, Donovan Peoples-Jones
going to the Lions, back to Michigan.
Back to Michigan.
He played at Michigan. Back to Detroit.
Honestly, for the Lions, you're just adding
another weapon on offense.
Another weapon.
Yep.
Good receiver depth. Another option down the field, and for a 6th-round pick.
That's where I think that's a good move.
For a 6th-round pick, I don't see how that's a bad move at all.
And I think he wasn't getting much usage in Cleveland. And
he's only had 18 targets all year, not even 100 yards. I mean,
I think he'll probably get
for a 6th-round pick.
Yeah,
you really can't complain when you know Donovan Peoples-Jones has the upside that he does. I think he could be good. He's a good wide receiver, 3 or 4.
He's a good addition to depth. And if, say, as a Lions fan, you don't want injuries, but
if somebody gets injured, he's not too bad to have as a backup.
Yeah, he's there. We'll see how much use they get out of him, but not a bad trade. I think that's a good trade for Detroit. Just add to the depth of that offense.
Well, and it's not a next year pick; it's a year after pick. It's 25.
Chase Young, we already talked about that. This is not the crazy big move, but Jaguars are getting an offensive lineman from Minnesota.
Honestly, it probably isn't a bad move for the Jaguars. It doesn't hurt to protect your quarterback, especially when he's young. Beefing up your front line. Good move at the trade deadline. You're giving up a 6th-round pick. It is a next-year pick, but
Joshua Dobbs, that's crazy.
That's just such a weird trade.
Montez Sweat, we talked about that. see.
Falcons got a D.
Yeah, Street from
lineman.
Eagles, which that makes sense. You get another role player in depth for the Falcons, where the Eagles, they already are so deep and so good at defensive line that's not a surprise.
They really need that, yeah.
And then just another Leonard. Oh yeah, Leonard Williams from
that was
the Giants.
Kind of a big one. That's definitely a
goes to Seattle.
Seattle could definitely use the defensive help. Not that they've been bad on defense, but having another big man like him who was a previous Pro Bowler, isn't going to hurt at all. And then the Giants, it works out for them. They get a second round pick next year. Now it is the Seattle second round pick, so it's going to be a later pick, but still a day 2 pick for someone who I believe was on an expiring contract. Yeah, it expires at the end of this season.
Yeah. That's another one of those moves.
It makes sense for the team because they're not going to re-sign him. He's not going to want to stay there. So compensation pick.
You're not winning much this year anyway, so you're trying to build for the future, get draft picks.
And a second round pick, pretty good.
And Seattle is one of those teams that they're trying to win now and get another piece on the defensive end. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And this happened, I think we talked about it last week because I think it happened
I think it did.
a little bit earlier, but Kevin Byard from Tennessee traded to Philadelphia. I believe he played Sunday for Terrell Edmonds and then some more picks. So Philadelphia, again, I think I said this, getting more talent from Tennessee.
Definitely can't hurt because it's not like the Eagles need the draft picks because I think that they overpaid. In my opinion, just 2 picks and a guy. The thing is, though, Kevin Byard is good, and it's not like they need the picks because they're not
another team that's in a win now situation.
So the thing is, honestly, I'm gonna take back what I said. I think it's
the last big trade that they did with the Titans was AJ Brown, and we see how that worked out as they get another key piece or more talent, I guess, from Tennessee. They get. We'll see how that works out. See how Byard ends up playing, but and then McCole Hardman, who
actually was on the Chiefs
and was with the Jets, got traded back because the Jets weren't using him.
Yeah,
he had a good first game with the Chiefs, but then if I remember right, I think he was one of the ones that fumbled this week against one of the turnovers against Denver was him, I believe. Because he has played now this was a couple weeks ago.
This was an older one.
Because he's played now the last 2 games for Kansas City. He looked good the first week and last week. Yeah. I don't know much.
And I don't get the Jets trading him anyway.
Well, I don't
because the thing is, he was not that he was bad.
What I don't get is
but they
why
just
the Jets
never used him.
Like
you have him, you know he's a good receiver.
That's what I don't get.
I mean, he's definitely not a Pro Bowler or anything like that. But
I think the thing is the Chiefs knew how to use him, and the Jets just for
he's
whatever
familiar
reason.
there, and the Jets just didn't want to throw.
So it makes sense. And
it could have been locker room things. Sometimes stuff like this is just locker room stuff. Honestly, this is all kind of.
These are some older ones. These are just all the trades that have happened, but I think we've talked about a lot of these.
Yeah, I think we talked about most of these, so we'll just.
But that kind of wraps just a little bit of a breakdown and wrap up of the trade deadline, as now no more trades, rosters are set, and
rosters are set for the rest of the year now.
We'll see how it goes moving forward. As we go into next week, we'll start our predictions.
Yes.
Thursday night, Tennessee coming off of a good win versus. Or I think it's at Pittsburgh, losing to Jacksonville this last week.
Going to be tough for Pittsburgh. Not Pickett's supposed to be back. Is he going to be 100%? They haven't
on a short week.
They haven't confirmed that.
Yeah,
he's going to be back yet. Pickett said he was, but he can say whatever he wants.
Yeah.
If they don't want him to play, he's not going to play.
And Will Levis I believe he'll probably start again. After
More than likely.
How will he play against what I think is a better defense?
Definitely a better defense for sure,
Pittsburgh.
especially at Pittsburgh. I'm gonna have to say Tennessee here, just because I think they're gonna let Pickett play, and I don't think he's gonna be 100%.
I say Tennessee just because I think they're gonna be riding that high off of last week
and having the rookie in.
I as good as Pittsburgh's defense is, and we talked about with Pittsburgh, they find ways to win, but I honestly think even though Pittsburgh's got the better record, I almost think Tennessee's a better team.
I would agree with that.
I don't know.
Even with the quarterback confusion.
It's hard to say. It's kind of up in the air, but especially if Will Levis can continue to play good, even though it's in Pittsburgh, I'm going Tennessee this game as well.
Next one, my team again. I know every time I pick them, they lose.
They're playing
at New England. They did just trade their two best defensive players.
Yeah. And New England has
no offense though.
But they also haven't. They're not good. But they have looked better the last couple weeks. But it's also against divisional opponents. They're at home, but I'm
going Commanders.
I'm still going Commanders too. I went.
Although New England's favored.
If New England has a good game, I wouldn't be surprised if they win. But New England, you don't know what you're gonna get out of them, and usually it's been more bad than good.
Yeah.
And
it's in Washington New England, really hasn't looked great.
No.
And we just traded, like we just said,
traded
our
if
two
Sam
best
Howell
defensive
can
places.
play like he played this last week, I think Washington's gonna.
If Sam Howell can have a game how he's been
playing. Even though both teams haven't looked good, Washington's offense has looked more consistently better than New England's offense.
If Eric Bieniemy can really step up and
so, I'm going Washington
adjust.
Too. And I don't know why that game was first, because actually the first game Sunday at 9:30 over in Germany
is the Miami-Kansas
City
game.
Which is
a very big game. This is two of the best teams in the league.
Top two in that.
Kansas City coming off a really, really, really ugly loss. Miami coming off of a good win.
I'm going Miami.
I don't want to be a Chiefs hater, but I'm going Miami as well.
I think Kansas City's gotten lucky in some of their wins. Now, mind you, they've done a good job finding ways to win, but they looked bad this last week, traveling overseas, and you're playing a really good Miami offense.
Yeah, even if their defense isn't that good.
I don't think Taylor's going to be in Germany. So.
Taylor Swift ain't going to be in Germany,
No.
so Kelsey's going to get about 13 yards.
And and this is huge too, because obviously I don't like the Dolphins as they're a division rival of my team, but I just hate the Chiefs that much more that I want to see the Dolphins win this game. Heck, we play the Chiefs later in the year. We've already beat the Dolphins once, but that's a huge game. Be interesting to see what happens, but yeah, I'm going Dolphins.
Next we got Vikings at the Hawks.
Or the
Falcons.
That's
basketball.
Wrong Atlanta
That's
team.
basketball.
Yeah, still a bird.
Still a bird. I mean, both Atlanta.
But no, it'll be interesting to see. Falcons are kind of a team that you don't know what to get. Now, I think Heineke stepped in this past week, so we'll see.
Dobbs is now.
And now Dobbs, yeah. So what's it's really we don't know what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
It's.
I don't even know how to pick this.
Atlanta's the favorite. They're at home.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go Atlanta just for that reason. I think at home, even though Heineke hasn't played much, he's been there at least this whole year.
And Heineke has more experience than Dobbs does. Anyway. Yes,
and I just think Minnesota, they're, again, got a new quarterback. I think Justin Jefferson's still out. I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota wins this game.
Is Jefferson still out?
I think so. But, yeah, I'm going Atlanta. It could go either way, but
because if Jefferson's out, that's going to make a big difference.
He's been out, and I don't.
But I didn't. Was he on the IR?
Yes.
Oh, so he's going to be out for a couple weeks.
He was out for how?
4 weeks.
4 weeks, but how many weeks is it? I still think he's out though.
2, I believe.
Yeah, 2 or 3. He's still out.
Yeah, I'm going to go Atlanta. If Jefferson was still there, I would be tempted to say Minnesota. Just because I think Dobbs is going to just thrive in an environment where he actually has receivers who know how to catch the ball.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to agree with you, and I'm going to go with Atlanta.
It's definitely a better situation for Dobbs.
100%.
He's expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks.
4 to 6.
So he's still out.
Feel bad for whoever drafted him.
Me.
Yeah. I know. That's why I was saying.
So, next game, which this is another crazy game, Baltimore versus Seattle.
Yep,
both have 2 losses.
Good teams.
One NFC, one
Baltimore.
AFC team. Yeah.
I think as of late, Seattle's looked better.
They have.
Although 2 games ago,
Baltimore looked
last
good
week,
against Detroit. Yeah, at home. They didn't look fantastic against Arizona this past week, but they still won. They're back at home.
This is a tough one.
I'd like Seattle to win just because Baltimore being in the yeah, but I think Baltimore's gonna win. I'm picking Baltimore.
I'm going Baltimore as well on this one. Baltimore's a better team, I think, in every facet almost.
Yeah, Seattle's a good team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way to win, but I do think Baltimore's a better team at home.
Yeah.
I'm going Baltimore.
The next one, Arizona, Cleveland. I don't know if this is much of a
I'm going
game.
Cleveland.
I'm going Cleveland.
I don't even know who Arizona's quarterback's going to be. Cleveland.
Yeah, who is their quarterback?
Cleveland.
Some like rookie 5th rounder or something.
Yeah.
The Cardinals' leading passer is Tune with 4 yards.
He's only got 4 yards. At least he doesn't have -1.
That is true.
At least he's got positive yards.
That's true.
But I think
he's thrown one pass
pass.
all year.
he completed it.
That was last week.
I'll say that. But no, Cleveland, they're coming off of a close loss to Seattle. Cleveland has not looked great, but they've looked good at the same. Like, I don't know, but I just think Arizona's that bad of a team in Cleveland. Cleveland's gonna win.
Definitely.
So
Next game, Rams, Packers.
I'm going Rams. Packers,
I was going to say the same thing.
I just have
going
not
Rams
looked
as
good.
well.
I know it's in Green Bay. Rams coming off of a bad loss to Dallas, but I just think the Rams are a better team.
Yep, I definitely agree.
The Packers just have not looked good, so yeah.
That's an easy one. Next, Houston, Tampa Bay. It's at Houston. Houston coming off their...
A loss to Carolina.
I don't even know if I'd say it was their worst loss. It is if you go based off of who they lost to, but as far as how they played, I don't know.
Well, in Tampa Bay, coming off of a loss to the Bills, which they didn't play good, but not. I mean, they were in that game still.
I'm gonna go with Houston.
I'm
thinking Houston's winning this one.
I
As
am
much
too.
as I'd like to see Tampa Bay win, just because I want to kind of see Baker actually do good for once. I'm gonna go Houston.
Yeah, Tampa just hasn't looked great. Now, they have guys there that have
They have the
experience
ability.
and abilities.
A lot of the guys there have a ring because of Brady.
Yeah, and Houston's more of a younger, inexperienced team, but it's in Houston. Houston coming off of a not great game back at home. I just think Houston's going to win, and Tampa Bay kind of in a slump right now. I think they're going to continue their losing ways. I don't know how many they've lost straight. Probably 2 or 3 now. So yeah, I'm going Houston.
Next, Chicago Saints.
I'm going New Orleans. It's in New Orleans. Chicago
I'm going New Orleans too.
Chicago's not.
Chicago hasn't looked good.
And New Orleans coming off of a good win, as we talked about in
Yeah.
Indianapolis. If they can play consistent like that,
Chicago does now have Montez Sweat.
yeah.
Not that that's going to make a
I
difference.
don't know if it's going to make much of a difference here. Yeah.
But next we got Indiana.
Or Indianapolis at Carolina.
At Carolina. Honestly, I'm going to ride the upset train. I think Carolina's getting 2 wins in a row.
It's in Carolina. Indianapolis has not.
They haven't
looked
looked great these
consistent,
past couple
yeah.
weeks.
I wouldn't be surprised if Carolina got the upset at home, but I am going to stick with Indianapolis. I just.
Is that the first one we picked different?
I think it is. Yeah. That way we could change it up a little bit
Yeah.
too. I'm going to go Indianapolis there.
Giants,
Ooh,
Vegas.
this is not going to be a good game.
This is going to be 2 bad teams.
I'm going Vegas just because Vegas' defense is good and their offense
And it's
is more
at
talented.
Vegas,
Yeah,
too.
it's at Vegas. Their offense is more talented now. Can they actually finally put it together? I don't know, but
That's the
Giants
problem.
are just
That's the problem with the Raiders this year is they haven't put it together. They have every
Yeah.
piece they need.
My thing is the Giants are just that bad.
The Giants are really bad.
And I think that whatever his name is probably starting again because unless Daniel Jones come back, because Tyrod I think is out.
Yeah, it was DeVito was his
So
name.
I don't know. Danny DeVito's
coming
son.
out here. Yeah,
I don't know. The Raiders are
I'm
not
going
good either,
Raiders.
but they're gonna win.
The Raiders for sure.
And now we got some of the biggest games of the week here.
Yeah, these are all big games. Dallas
Dallas at Philadelphia. Wow.
Eagles are winning. Eagles are winning.
Eagles have looked good, and I hate the Cowboys.
Gotta include
They're
that.
winning, though.
But I know. I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas could win.
Yeah, but it's
though.
the Eagles. The Rams.
They're at-
the Rams don't have as
well,
that good.
and they're
of
in
defense.
Philadelphia. Yeah.
And the Eagles just picked up a couple
I gotta go
extra
Eagles.
pieces on defense. Eagles for sure.
I gotta go Eagles. I'm not as confident as you are, but I still. am
And I
going to-
absolutely hate the Dallas Cowboys with
Yeah.
a burning passion. They're in my division.
So do I. They're not even. But I still hate
They're
the
in the
Cowboys.
complete
Yeah.
opposite conference.
Yeah.
It's not even.
I still hate the Cowboys though. But
Everyone hates the Cowboys
Unless
except
you're a
for
Cowboys
Cowboys
fan,
fans. Next, Bills, Bengals.
Sunday night, Bills traveling to Cincinnati. Okay, sorry, we just had a little bit of technical difficulties there.
Technical difficulties. Anyway,
but we're getting into the Bills Cincinnati
Bills.
game. Big game.
Very big.
Sunday night. I think what I was saying was that
the
Bills
last time the Bills are
Bill-
going to lose. That's what he was saying.
No, the last time the Bills played in Cincinnati last year, the Damar Hamlin situation happened.
Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
And then Cincinnati came to Buffalo in the playoffs, and they eliminated us in the playoffs. So those are the last two times the Bills and the Bengals played. The Bengals are playing really good as of late.
They have been.
Bills, not that they've been playing terrible, just not like themselves.
No, they definitely looked better last week than they had the week before. They looked horrible. But this game, I'm gonna have to go Bengals, and I know you're not gonna go Bengals.
That's okay. I mean, it could go either way. Yeah, it's in Cincinnati.
Being at Cincinnati, the way that they've been playing lately, they lost their games that they need to lose every year. Apparently.
Well, yeah, and the thing is like I said, the last time we played in Cincinnati, we didn't finish that game because of Damar Hamlin.
Yep.
But Cincinnati, even that game started out really good, and then they beat us pretty good in the playoffs. So. But as a Bills fan, I'm hoping we can pull this one out. I'm gonna go Bills. I'm a little bit biased, but it could go either way. This is a big game, Sunday night game in Cincinnati. But this is gonna have a lot of playoff implications.
There'll be a lot of people watching this game too. It'll be a very, very big game.
And hopefully we're able to finish the game this time.
Hopefully no one dies.
And
fingers crossed.
So now last game of the week, Chargers at Jets. Both teams it's crazy. The Jets actually have a better record than the Chargers,
which is is insane.
Think about that. It's in the Chargers.
I mean, at the beginning of the year, I would have been like, "Oh, that's normal." But since Aaron Rodgers died, and the Jets have played horrible,
it's crazy. The defense for the Jets is good though, and it's kept them in games. I think the biggest thing is, what production are you going to get out of the offense if you're the Jets? And what
the offense is definitely the question mark for the Jets.
But the thing is as good as the offense for the Chargers should be, what Chargers offense are you going to get? Because they're not been always consistently good either.
Neither of these teams have been consistent.
I think the Chargers
have really been good.
The Chargers are more talented, especially on the offensive end. But what are you going to get? Yep. So
I'm going Jets on this one. I think Mr. Wilson there is going to play pretty good.
I think it's going to be close just because the Jets defense will keep him in it. But I agree. If Zach Wilson can play good.
Yeah. If Zach Wilson plays good, the Jets are for sure going to win. I think they still probably going to win even if he doesn't play great.
Yeah.
But if he plays good, it's almost a guaranteed win. Their
I think I'm going to differ with you on this one too, and I'm going to go Chargers. I think it's going to be close. I just think the Chargers are a more talented team, even though, obviously, like I said, the Jets have a better record. It's at the Jets.
It is odd.
I just think the Chargers have a very underrated defense too. I don't know. I just don't think the Jets, while their defense is going to keep them in the game, I don't think the Jets offense is good enough to keep up. And so that's why
I definitely think it's a close game. It's going to be close. It's hard to tell. I just think the Jets defense is going to carry them here against a lackluster Chargers team that has not been consistent. So
that wraps up too bad our technical difficulties happened so late. We were almost done.
Yeah, we just had to record a 5-minute section.
But we got the end of the picks in, and there's 4 teams this week that are on a bye. 49ers, Broncos, Jaguars, and Lions.
Yeah.
So
3 really good teams.
And a Broncos who beat a really good
Broncos team that is now going to win the Super Bowl since they beat the Chiefs.
Defending Super Bowl
champs. They're going to go undefeated the rest of the year. Don't write that down.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen. I don't want proof that I said that.
So, yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting games this week. You got
Chiefs-Dolphins.
Chiefs-Dolphins, a big game. I think Seattle-Baltimore is an interesting game. And then Dallas-Philadelphia, Buffalo-Cincinnati. So I think those are the top 4 games of the week.
It's definitely going to be a week full of big games, and there will be some records that change. That's for sure.
For sure. And playoff implications huge, especially.
That's what I should have said. Obviously, records change. That happens every week.
But especially in the AFC.
Standings.
With the Miami-Kansas City game and Buffalo-Cincinnati in the AFC. And I think the biggest one in the NFC is that Dallas-Philadelphia game. So.
So, it'll be a good week. So I suppose we'll see you guys next week.